Hey everyone, I'm super excited to bring with you a webinar I just completed with John Bates, one of the most prolific TED and TEDx coaches on the face of the earth today. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to take your unique message and share it with the world in a way that blows their mind? Well, this you don't want to miss. We were able to accomplish so much in an hour, helping people craft their story in a way that just brought tears to everybody's eyes. And on top of that, I share how you can tap into your subconscious mind, remove the money blocks, get the stress out of the way, and maximize your life. You don't want to miss this one. Alexandra was a guest on my show. I was a guest on her show. She was a guest on mine. Would you like to give John a little bit of your amazing background? She's doing really important work in the world. So we've got another person joining right now who I'm not familiar with. Um, so uh,
I know Douglas.
oh, you do? Okay,
There.
great. So we can do this a bunch of ways. We can, John can do a little bit of talking, or we can just dive right in and help people solve their issues. Because if Doug's familiar with your work and Alexandra is very much familiar with mine, oh, we've got another great gal coming on.
Well, yeah, I mean, I would love to hear what you're up to, Alexandra, and then maybe I can give you what I'd love to know is what you're up to and how you kind of got to that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And
Can you hear me okay?
I'd love to welcome Kate to the call too. I love Kate. Kate was also a guest on my podcast. She is, we've got really extraordinary people here today, which I'm super excited about. So, I can give a little introduction to John. Why don't I just do that for a brief moment? He specializes in the area where neuroscience meets leadership communication. He's a best-selling author and globally sought-after executive coach. He's one of the most prolific TED format coaches on the planet today. He's trained and coached leaders at NASA, GE Aerospace, the U.S. Navy Special Operations, Johnson & Johnson JLABS, Google, Intuit, and so many more. So I'm very excited that we have such a talented group of people here, although very intimate, but that's exciting because we can actually dive in and get people's questions answered.
Yeah.
Way, John.
Thank you, Dr. Tara. I appreciate it. And Tara, Dr. Tara, will you tell Doug about you?
Yeah, let's start with you, and then we'll say how.
Perfect. Okay, great. Great.
And then we'll do Q&A for a bunch of it. So I'd love to do that interaction with everybody.
Great. All right. So Alexandra, tell me what you do and tell me a little bit about how you came to do it.
Yes. Hi. I'm so excited. I was like planning to just listen to everyone's amazingness. So it's a little different to share. So right now, I wrote a book in 2022 or published a book in 2022. It was a memoir after my husband died by suicide in 2020. And I kind of fell into doing the work that I'm doing right now from that because I was really motivated. I've always been someone who said, let me forge the path so that other people don't have to suffer. And that's kind of what happened with my book. And since then, I've started a podcast that helps people with grief, find tools and ways to keep moving forward, find that joy. And then I also have started helping individuals. I call myself a grief guide. I'm not a mental health provider. I don't do anything like that, but I love neuroscience. So I help individuals just have someone they can talk to about their grief. And then also my whole premise is really like, how do we come back to connection? We're all connected. How do we come back to that connection? How do we help each other through whatever life throws at us? Because it's going to happen, rather than have division and comparison. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I do love writing, so I'm working on writing a couple other stories and books as well. But yeah, that's kind of how I got to here. And I got to working with Dr. Tara because she was a guest on my podcast. And then I was like, tell me about this work you do because I want to do it. And it really helped me break through some of the barriers with what I'm doing right now.
That's fabulous. So let me ask you two more questions, if I may. And then, so if you're okay with it, I
Mhm.
can
Of course.
totally imagine that maybe I could figure this out myself, but I want to know from you in this whole journey of losing your husband, and I'm so sorry. Uh, what was the lowest point for you?
Oh,
I imagine there were a number of them, but
yeah. The lowest point really was I did not trust myself. I was not raised to trust myself. And so I the lowest point for me within the whole grief process was trying like not believing I could do this on my I'm a single parent. My son was 1 when his dad died. So I was like, I don't know how to do this. How am I gonna keep my house? Am I all those questions that you have? And how am I gonna dig myself out of this? How am I going to rebuild? That was definitely my lowest point of just also thinking to myself, is this it? Like this is how I'm going to feel the rest of my life. Like this is what I get. So
Hey guys, studies are showing that 68% of people that watch podcasts regularly don't click the subscribe button. Do me a huge favor. If you like this content, click subscribe so other people know where to go for the cool stuff. Thank you.
okay. And tell me a little bit more about how you grew up and a little bit more about like, you didn't trust yourself and
sure. Yeah. So um I grew up in a household. My dad is a Russian Orthodox priest. So you have that whole pastor's kid mentality, living in a fishbowl, other people, parishioners kind of ran the roost, if you will. And then also my mom was an active alcoholic for a good chunk of my childhood. She's been sober now for many decades. I can't really say exactly or pinpoint where this not trusting myself, but I do know sometimes with religion, when you feel that something is going on, oh, pray and go to your outside sources, go to other people, go to your church, go to your if it's it creates this mentality of you have to go outside of yourself in order to be able to figure out and be resilient, figure out things and be resilient. So add to it, I'm the youngest of 3 siblings, and I also was very, like, codependent and very enmeshed with my mom, and recently I figured out with my sister too. So I just didn't have a lot of opportunity to really trust myself, to learn to be resilient, that was kind of the dynamic. And so over the last my husband passed away 5 years ago, so I'd say over the past 4 years has been a big part of my journey, has been learning to trust myself, learning to listen to my gut, learning to really weed out all of the conditioning that I've had from other people and to get more clear, which Dr. Tara actually really helps me with my clarity, but get more clear about what do I want in this life and who am I? I like to tell people that right now I'm I'm meeting myself for the first time, like my true self. So
yeah. So can I play with this and give you back what I would call your origin story, like one version of it?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Um, so because one of the things that I think, I mean, we're talking about like the neurobiology of communication and influence and all that stuff. And so the first thing I say is communicating with human beings is not logical. You may have noticed it's not logical, it's biological. And one of the most important things I think you can do as a leader, as somebody who's a coach, as somebody who's got a business, as in any way, in any capacity out there in the world, I think people get really hung up on establishing their credibility when usually it's already established. And instead and what they don't think enough about is establishing what I call their emotional credibility. So
Sure.
for me, your origin story is your most valuable tool. And so I'd love what I'm going to do is kind of play back what I heard and try and arrange it as an origin story for you. I'm going to get some of it wrong, but like hopefully I'll get enough of it right. And if you like it, please, run with it, right? But I'm imagining that you're sitting on a podcast or you're on a panel or whatever, and they say, well, so Alexandra, tell us about yourself. How did this all come about? Right. And so, um, I think that, one thing to do that's a good thing to do is to kind of start in the middle at the lowest spot. So I'm imagining it could go something like, you know, it's early 2021 and I am at the lowest low of my life because a little while ago, my husband, whom I love and who I have a 1-year-old child with, died by suicide. And I don't know if I can keep the house. I don't know what to do. I don't trust myself that I can take care of this little child all by myself. And I am just freaking out. You see, I grew up as the child of an Orthodox Russian, sorry, I lost where I wrote, a Russian Orthodox priest. And so I was surrounded by this community of religion, and the parishioners kind of ran the roost. And my mom, while I was growing up, was an active alcoholic. Now, the good news is she's overcome that, been sober for a long, long time. But growing up, I was really codependent with my mom and my sister. And what I feel like the message I got from religion was that when I had a problem, when something was wrong, I should pray about it and like go to the community. And letting that be my guide for my whole life, I never really got to know myself. And I really didn't trust myself because I went from living with my family to, living with my husband. And nowhere in that process did I ever really find myself. And now, as I look at what life's going to be like, I wonder if I'm going to feel this awful grief and despair forever. And the one thing I know is that I can't do what my husband did, as much as I might feel down, because I have a 1-year-old to take care of. So I dig in to grief and I dig in to figuring out how to be an adult. And I dig in to figuring out how I'm going to do this. And the good news is that it's 5 years later and I'm still here and I still have the house, and my child is now 5, and I feel like I've been pretty successful. The bad news is it was hard. And there were a lot of places where I stubbed my toe and hit my forehead and fell down. And so what I realized I wanted to do is take all these things that I learned the hard way and become a grief guide so that I could hold other people in that moment when I needed most to be held myself. So I'm happy to be here. I'm going to talk a little bit about grief. I'm going to talk about some of the processes, some of the things that are maybe unexpected. My name's Alexandra Wyman, and I appreciate you having me.
I mean, I don't even know. I want to listen more to it. Can you just keep going? I'm just going to take this. I'm just going to bring you with me and be like, John Dates is going to do my story for you. That's phenomenal. That was amazing. Totally unexpected for today. That was amazing.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for being the first one,
That is why we're here, because he is totally a magician at that. I've got a little tear in the corner of my eye. My God, I want to support this woman. I really feel like I know this woman. It's so candid, and oh my goodness, that was beautiful, John.
Yeah, and I got on anything to write notes, so I'm glad this is
Oh,
being recorded. 'Cause I'm
Yeah.
gonna get the recording, Alexandra. So we'll have it.
great.
And this is John's genius. I mean, and he did that in
Yeah,
less than 15 minutes.
that was amazing. That was amazing.
Thank you. I mean, I have to say, it's what I live for. Like, I love that. And because I get to tell that story in a way that makes it much more clear who you are and what you're up to in the world in a way that just,
Yeah.
you know,
And since I know you, Alexandra, and what you went through, the fact that you didn't have any community support, which was one of the things that you learned on, that was another part of the rug that was pulled out from underneath you. That would be another thing to add there that just
Oh
makes.
yeah, as you were talking, I was like, oh, I could add this part and I could add this part.
yeah, right. Because I don't know all those
You don't know
details.
all
Yeah.
of it. And I wasn't sure, but yeah, I mean, I think that sounded amazing. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Honestly, it just, I feel like encouraged is what I would say. I feel very encouraged to keep doing what I'm doing, having seen, because that's like doing public speaking and getting out and doing more of that is a goal of mine. I have no idea how to get into that, but yeah, that is a goal of mine. So I appreciate that.
My hallucination is you probably feel a whole lot more seen, having been able to structure your story in a way that's more relatable.
Yes, and exactly to your point, I'm in it, right? It's my story. I'm in it. And so it makes it harder to be able to build this like as you did. You took all of this and I'm like, oh, that's a really good story you're telling. And then to be like, wait, that's my story, it helps to have someone outside who can take that and do what you did, like you did. You magicked it into something.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's hard to see the picture when you're in the frame.
It's funny.
Exactly. Yeah.
Into it because John did this with me as well, and I was like, "Who is that person? I want to know more about it." Oh, it's me.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like,
Oh, all these years, and I couldn't see that.
and there wasn't anything you said that wasn't true or it wasn't embellished. I think it's just how you put it, the sequence you did and how you put it together. Like that's, yeah.
Well, there's a lot to the sequence, right? There's a lot to the structure. And there's also a lot to really thinking about it from your audience's point of view and putting things in from that way. And then I also think that just the way we are conditioned socially and things, like we definitely are conditioned to downplay certain aspects that are really important to actually not downplay,
That's true. That's a really good point.
John, would you like to take on another guest that we have here today?
Absolutely.
I know Kate, and I want to leave time for Doug as well, unless you're already working with Doug. Are you already working with Doug?
I think Doug and I have done this in the past.
Okay.
Have we played this game, Doug? Yeah.
Okay. Kate is a wonderful pet psychic. And when I had a cat that was ailing a great deal, Kate was so instrumental in helping me turn that situation around, which when you have a pet that's just your love of your life and, nuggles up against you all the time and loves you unconditionally, you really feel not optimal there we go.
That's my guy Flash. He died in 2021, but he was 17.
And she's also been an outstanding guest on Next Level Healing. So I'd love to introduce you to her and help her with her origin story.
Sounds great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tara. Well, this is exciting. I didn't really know what to expect, but I was intrigued by what you shared about, neurobiology and knowing your message and delivering that in a way that, yeah, so this is fascinating. And then just hearing what you did with Alexandra. So, oh gosh. So I use the word animal communicator because a lot of times pet psychic has a lot of, woo-woo connotations that are, people are like, oh, brother. And so I've used animal communicator, but I also do nutrition for dogs and cats and flower essences. And, there's a lot that I do. I developed a toolbox because the animals that I was working with, because I've been doing this for over 30 years. and the profession is growing by leaps and bounds. And that is rewarding. And it's also interesting in that some of us who have been doing this, some of us who are the pioneers in the field, are kind of getting lost in all that's happening. And so for me, being able to reclaim, if you will, my I, yeah, there's some pieces missing, John, that I want to reclaim, if you will, that I can give back to the world, because I'm still very passionate, especially now, about helping people reconnect with animals, not just our beloved pets, but the wisdom of the wild animals, the importance of, we are beings of nature, we are earthlings, we aren't different and separate from. So my message, and I do a lot of work with wild animals, meaning bringing through messages from wild animals. I have a membership community where we do that with the idea that everybody's growing and learning and evolving so they can be more effective in the world, shine their light and help. So, but I guess what I want to say is my greatest challenge now is building a tribe, because again, I've been around a long time. I have a bunch of books that I've written, but this is a growing field. We have now the challenge of AI, with scientists racing to, quote unquote, decode the language of animals with AI, which is a really scary idea in a lot of ways, because you can't get the heart and soul of an animal, or even their culture, without that empathetic and heart connection that indigenous people have always had, and that those of us who have been in this profession for many years, we know this, and but the scientists won't talk to us, sadly, so far. So there's a lot that I do. There's a lot that I love to teach. I do speak. But I just feel there's some pieces that that are, maybe, I don't know if they're missing. Dr. Tara might know too, because we've talked a lot, but it's also, how do I, just how beautifully you put Alexander's message together. How do I?
Well, tell me, in this 30-year journey
Mhm.
of being an animal communicator, what some people would call a pet psychic, um,
Ignorant people.
what was the lowest point? And you're starting to see themes here, but what was the lowest point for you? Like,
Hmm. Oh gosh, because there's the hard part.
lots of them.
Yeah, well, there's different aspects of hard.
Right. Okay,
Because-
so I'm gonna play a game with you. Just that one, that low point, the really low point right there that you just thought about.
Okay, the one that came to mind as a real low point was when I was working with a dog that was having some physical challenges, and her person was the son of my client, and they wanted me to find out what was going on with the dog. And the dog did something really interesting. She didn't let me scan her. She just told me that she was fine, and that it was just a little tummy upset and there was nothing to worry about. And and so I shared that. There was a part of me that went, and I let it go. And then a couple days later, I got a call from the mother screaming at me. She had, her spleen was about to burst, and, the vets didn't find it, and you didn't find it, and you don't know what you're doing, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, holy cow, am I crappy at this? I gathered myself together, and I checked back in with the dog. And so the dog said to me, I knew I was really sick. I didn't want anybody else to know. And I wanted to have these last moments with my person. I didn't want to be in the vet's office. I didn't want an operation. And that's why you didn't know. So it was both a terrible low point, in that I thought I was horrible and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And then it was a miraculous moment, because I learned something so valuable, that I'm the voice of the dog. It is not my place to pry and to, go where I'm not invited. But I also should ask a few more questions just in case I can't
Yeah.
ferret out something else. If my instincts go, something is I'm missing something, I need to follow that up, but also respect whatever the animal's wishes are.
Great. And then how did you come to this? Like,
Ah,
why in the world
why in the
do
world?
this, right?
How did this happen? Well, my earliest memories as a child were that I was completely open. I had this door open that I could hear, and I'm not hearing voices. It's not like Dr. Dolittle. I'm getting a thought to thought exchange, which we call telepathy, and feelings and sensations. We have the words clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. Wouldn't have those if those things didn't exist.
Right.
So I had it as a child, but when I was 6, my beloved cat, who was my teacher and best friend, went out and got hit by a car. And I have told that story, and I do tell that story a lot, and how I got very sick with tonsillitis and decided I didn't want to live, but he told me to come back and that I wasn't done. And that but I felt the only way to continue was to shut my abilities down. So I did, until I was in my late 20s and I went to therapy for issues with my dad, the usual stuff, and found a whole part of me missing, the feminine intuitive parts that I had just gone, oh no, we're not doing that. We're going to be an overachiever and, a good student and a scholar and a athlete and a la 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 to fit in. But I got it back. I got myself back, and then it just started to happen for me. But I was old enough, wise enough to know I wasn't nuts, that this was real. And it was the trees that started to communicate with me. So I was taught by the trees how to remember how to listen.
Okay. So, and then like, so you in therapy, you found this feminine intuitive part that you'd shut out to fit in, and you got it back. And
Then, yeah. And then what? So I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. That wasn't the most open place for this kind of thing. And but I realized, and also I thought, who does this? I didn't know anybody that was experiencing this. I thought, well, Native American people do this, but I had no Native American blood. And I thought, well, this makes no sense because I didn't know anything about reincarnation at the time. So I just started you go back in everybody's culture far enough, you find a nature-based religion. So I kind of immersed myself in Celtic and Druid and all that. But I ended up in Santa Fe, and I ended up learning how to do Reiki with animals. And this part's interesting, I guess. There was a professional psychic in my class, and he said, I want to take you on as an apprentice. And I did one of those, who's me? And he said, yes. And he helped me define how I receive and then asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I don't want to be a human psychic. No, I want to serve the animals. So he sent me on a appointment, and it was a dramatic thing with a golden retriever.
so he sent you on a what?
He sent me on an appointment. He said, yes, I know you want to work with animals. So he
Okay.
sent me on an appointment, and it was a dog that was dying with all kinds of tumors. And he told his person through me why that was happening, and all was forgiven. And he fully recovered from all these tumors. And everybody said, you've got to keep doing this.
Wow.
I practiced. I asked my vet, can I come and listen to the animals? She said, sure. And then she started to ask me questions, which I didn't say anything about that I could tell you what they said. And then she started asking me. So it naturally evolved. It was like the universe went, yes, this is what you do. And don't be afraid. And one of the gifts I had been given by my very difficult father was that I knew what mattered to me. And I knew how to stand up for myself. And I was like, I don't care what the world thinks. I'm here to serve the animals, and I'm going to do it in the best way I know how. So I pursued it and kept practicing. And then people a big article came out in the Santa Fe New Mexican in the Sunday paper. I was living in Santa Fe, and all of a sudden the phone started ringing off the hook, and kind of the rest is history. So
Okay, cool. So, so let me just
there's
absorb.
lots of unpacking.
But I mean, I'm going to do my usual formula, right? And it doesn't
Okay.
always have to go like this. And maybe if we worked on it longer, we'd do something slightly different. But like when you got a formula that works, why not, right?
Why not?
So I think that uh when was that with the like the quote unquote miss?
Oh, oh, that was many, many years ago. Tw Probably 20 years ago.
Okay, cool. So so it's about 20 years ago, and I have been a practicing animal communicator for about 10 years, having studied with a world famous psychic who asked me to allow him to mentor me. And I told him I didn't want to do human psychic stuff. I wanted to work with the animals. And now one of my customers is, one of the people that I've done work for is on the phone screaming at me because the dog who had told me that she was fine and just had a little tummy upset is about to die of a burst spleen. And I feel like maybe the world is right. Maybe I am a fraud. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe this whole thing is just crazy. But I remember being 6, and I remember being open, and I remember feeling, and we have words like clairvoyance and the other one because people experience that, or we wouldn't have words for them. And I experienced that. And then when I was almost 7, my cat got run over and died. And I very quickly got super sick with tonsillitis, and I just wanted to die. I wanted to go to cat heaven. But he came to me and he said, no, like, you got to go back. Like, you're not done yet, little girl. And so I made it through that really horrible tonsillitis, and promptly shut myself down because I wanted to fit in. And I very quickly realized that people were not open to my abilities and how I felt the world. So years later, sitting in my early 20s, sitting in my therapist's couch, talking about my very difficult father, I realized that I had shut out this whole feminine, intuitive side of myself, and I was not committed to that. Like, fitting in didn't matter to me enough to shut out something that I felt so connected to, that was so important to me. So long story short, I started looking for, like, where were my kind? And like, I thought, well, the Native Americans, but I'm not Native American. So I looked back in the Celtic history, and I realized that every group of humans, if you look back far enough, has a nature-based religion that accounts for these kinds of things. And I found myself in Santa Fe working with that psychic master that I mentioned earlier, and he saw something in me and what I was doing and wanted me to come on, wanted me to take him on as a mentor. So I did. And he really helped me grow my gift. And then there was an article in Santa Fe about the work that I was doing. and how, oh, sorry. So I was in Santa Fe taking Reiki with animals, and there was a professional psychic in that course who wanted me to come on as his apprentice, or, who wanted me to take him on as a mentor. And I said yes. And he helped me define how I receive as a psychic. And that was really, really important. And then, I decided I wanted to serve the animals. So he sent me on an appointment with a golden retriever that was dying of tumors. And I communicated with that golden retriever and told his person what was going on. And the dog and the human had reached an understanding, and all was forgiven. And that golden retriever fully recovered. And I was like, if wasn't committed before, I'm committed now. But here I am on this phone, doubting myself as this woman yells at me. And so when we hang up, I sit down and I reach out to that animal, and it lets me know that it didn't want to ruin its last days on earth. It didn't want to go to the vet. It didn't want to have an operation. It didn't want to die like that. It wanted to spend every last minute with its human as best it could. And that's why it wouldn't allow me to scan it, and it wouldn't allow me to see what was really going on. So I learned a really important lesson that day. It's not my place to go and pry, but I can push a little bit harder. And it made me think back to that moment with, in the chair, talking to the therapist about my dad, because as difficult as he was, one of the things that gave me as a huge gift in my life is that I know what I want. I know what I know, and I'm willing to stand up for myself. So some people call me a pet psychic, and they kind of mean it derisively. I communicate with the animals. I communicate with the trees. I communicate with nature in a way that I think many more of us did in the past. And I think that it is an extremely important thing that I keep that tradition alive. So I've been at this for 30 years. I know a lot of the people who have broken ground and opened this up. I know this area is taking off like crazy. And I feel like it's really important for me as a flame keeper of this tradition that goes back as long as humanity, to comment on what's going on, talk about what's going on, and act as a torchbearer for this movement. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you, being part of this tribe, and thank you for helping me keep this tradition alive.
Wow. John,
Makes me want to cry.
that was beautiful. Wow. Thank you. Because there's so many different pieces
Yeah.
to pull together, but the way you wove things and the way you came back, to the golden retriever and my commitment to this was just beautiful. So thank you for
You're welcome.
beautiful.
I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but I am never sure if I can pull this off. When I write it all out and I look at it and I go, let me absorb this for a minute, there's always the part of me just going, oh my God, when am I
That was sheer genius. And I've known people in certain professions that they just have an incredible mind, that have this amazing intricate filing system, and the way you're able to absorb that in 15 minutes and come up with this beautiful story that has me tearing up, and Kate and probably everybody on this call, is just extraordinary.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Awesome.
So
let's talk about you, Dr.
let's share a little bit of what the subconscious mind can do in these journeys.
Yeah, right. Well, because I mean, that's why we're here together. And I just want to acknowledge I'm doing your work right now. And we talked last time about my unconscious relationship with money. And you know what happened? All of a sudden, I have been closing deals left and right. And like, I'm like, thank you. I really did want to deal with that, you know? So, and I believe that, if you look at the science, something like, I mean, there you people argue, right? Oh, 80% of everything is unconscious. No, John, it's 90%. No, actually, it's like 99%. Like you control about one or two, like whatever the percentage is. I think there's such a small piece that's conscious that it makes it really important to, first of all, control that thoughtfully, what you're doing consciously. And then, like, it is incumbent really to get into that subconscious and work with it and craft it. And that's what I love that you do. And so, I was really, really excited and honored that we could do this together. So thank you.
Thank you, John. And you hit the nail on the head. And it's so, talk about a communication issue that's challenging. People think that they're actually running their lives with 40 bits of information per second, thinking that it holds a candle to 40 million bits of information per second that's going on in the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for sharing that story. That is, money blocks is a huge one. And if we have programming that says, I'm not enough, I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy, that's going to win every single time.
Yeah.
So, thank you so much for sharing that. The cool thing is that, I don't have to figure it out. You don't have to figure it out. We basically, can you just talk about what that experience was like for you? Because we didn't have to figure anything out. All we did was get to the emotions that were
Yeah.
bothersome and then
Yep.
just take you back in time. Where did that get installed? What does it want? What does it need? And then get it to see that, it's an iPhone 4, not an iPhone 16. And
Yeah.
write that program so that the iPhone 4 can upgrade to that iPhone 16.
Yeah. So it was, I mean, it's a really cool process. And we went through what I wanted to talk about and focus on. And then I mean, I sort of don't remember, like I do, but I don't, right? Because like you put me into kind of a state where I'm super relaxed. And then you ask me some questions and I talk about what some of my money memories are and what some of the things that happen around money are. And then, we talk about some other stuff. And then what does it feel like? What does it look like? Where is it? And then next thing I know, I get this really awesome, like, 10-minute meditation to listen to, where you've pulled all those things together in the way that I pull together an origin story. You pull together my subconscious stuff and walk me through a 10-minute meditation. And like, I mean, it just kind of melts that stuff away. It seems like I don't know.
It's new neurons.
Right. Yeah.
Most of us have superhighways to what we don't have. Again, subconscious,
Yeah.
pre-verbal, sometimes multi-generational, often multi-generational.
Yeah.
And so it's, how do you resolve that in 20, 30, 40 years of therapy, talking it around with that 40
You don't. Yeah.
second. So, thank you for sharing that, because it's often challenging to describe it. It's like, how do you describe
Yeah.
40 in a 3D world?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But the delicious thing about finding those old injured points that are still running that program as if the life depended on it,
Yeah.
and getting it to go, I'm not an iPhone 4. That's hurting me. That's painful. That's limiting me. That's trapping me. And that's really what I am. And that's where we're going to
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
To listen to that audio each night as you drift off to sleep when your mind is super suggestible and you don't even have to be awake to listen to it. And then
Mhm.
just chart your progress each and every day. What was that like for you, charting your progress each day?
You know what? I like to be really candid. I have such a hard time with that. That has been hard for me. But you know what? I have the book you gave me.
Yeah.
I've been using it, but setting a habit like can take some time, and I'm struggling with this habit, but I'm way better now. And I see the value, and just being candid, like that's been a challenge for me,
Totally
but
fine.
I still see the results. But I would probably do even better if I were to actually consistently. It's not like I don't or I'm avoiding it, but
Yep. No,
I just,
I've had people that never even listened to the audio. They were older and they didn't even realize they had gotten an MP3 file.
yeah,
And they're, and it's still like their drinking problem went out the window because all of a sudden their subconscious mind had gotten the message, oh, this isn't soothing me. This isn't freedom.
yeah,
That's freedom.
yeah, yeah,
So, in a nutshell, when one does get to those old, hurt, buried things that are pre-verbal, multi-generational, subconscious, and just rewire them, then you're accessing that 40 million bits of information per second that can really catapult you. And the changes that I see are typically um, uh, reduce stress, reduce anxiety. I've had military veterans with 100 on their PTSD scores that went through all the military stuff and were still having panic attacks and still couldn't focus. And in 2 sessions, they're going, "It can't be this easy.
yeah,
I'm not, and I'm like, "Yeah, it actually can be."
yeah. Well,
Uh,
I mean, and I think about a lot of the people that I work with, entrepreneurs who maybe are stuck in a cycle and, like get to a certain level of success, but have a hard time breaking that next level open, or have been, had an idea for a long time and just never quite get it actually actualized and stuff. And I think all of that stuff is s- subconsciously driven,
as
right?
our conditioning as tribal people that are competing with one another to get to the top, and that means being above a whole bunch of other people. That ingrained program is to compete, and if you get too visible, that's
Right.
also because
Oh,
you've talked about that a lot. It's dangerous to speak.
yeah. And I had a boss pull me in the office one time and say, John, I need you to dim it down a little bit. Like the tallest flower gets cut down, the tallest nail gets hammered, right? I'm like, that is not what I don't like. And I quit. I quit in that moment. I quit. I said, okay, if that's how it is, I quit. But like, that is the story out there, right? And
Look,
we all
look
have
for
experienced
a
it.
lot of great people throughout history. They had bad endings because they were
Jesus, Joan of Arc, Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Socrates.
to name a few, yes. So yeah, that programming that is irrational for many of us because many of us are a whole lot safer if we are out there speaking our truth in our most authentic voice,
Yeah.
finding the people who are like-minded to us because the world has changed a lot since we were running around in little tribes that if you annoyed the wrong people and they kicked you out, you were subject,
Die. Yeah.
and it usually wasn't very pretty. So,
No.
yeah, the iPhone 4 going, oh, I'm not an iPhone 4, I'm really an iPhone 16, and let's take that journey together, which just
Yeah.
takes a little consistency, a little courage, and it's honestly kind of fun. I mean, didn't we end a couple of
Yeah.
seasons, John, where I had a big grin on my face going, isn't that the most fun thing in the world?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's fun. I mean, and it really is surprising, like it's surprising, and I'm seeing the effects, and it's one of those things that I have that logical scientist side of my mind, Kate, that would say, oh, pet psychic, right? But you're absolutely also right. We wouldn't have words for it if there wasn't something. I think that's a brilliant way to uh, to say something, right? And whatever it is, like maybe we don't know what it is, like whatever, but like there's something connecting there that's real and actually going on, and I can't like it, I'm just like, okay, whatever works, like if when my overly critical scientific mind is going, what are you talking about? Like, I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about, but it's working and I'm okay with it, And I think there's a lot of science as well, but still, you know.
Actually, on that note, I'd like to throw in a little story because I was the first acupuncture teacher at the Arthur Ashe Center at UCLA, and it was the first time acupuncture was made available at any UC school. It was a big deal. And the way we got in there wasn't to show them a bunch of studies and show them how smart we are. We actually just treated the people that made the decisions, and once they could experience, oh, gee, my
Yeah.
I'm relaxed and all this stuff, they're like, oh yeah, come on in, red card
Yeah, yeah.
for you guys.
Totally.
That's it.
Uh,
The proof is in the pudding, right? I mean,
Absolutely. And people like results. I mean, and that's what I've noticed with this work, if they come in with headaches or whatever, if they're stressed out and their bodies can't heal, then, I don't know whether the physical ailments will go away or not. But if you dial the stress back so that you're in a parasympathetic state and your immune system is functioning, your digestive system is functioning, your hormonal system, it's crazy the things that get better. I've seen choking disorders, chronic debilitating daily seizures, daily panic attacks, being allergic to everything but 5 foods, mast cell inflammation, babesia, Lyme's disease, crazy stuff. And why is that? Because you're just getting your energy back that really belongs to you in the first place. And I don't want to leave out Doug. Doug, can we help you with something? Or is it Doug or Douglas?
I'm muted. I said either, as long as you don't call me something else.
Do you have any questions for us? Is there anything we can help you with today?
No, I've been following John for a long time. And I guess I learned something today, which John didn't talk about before. And, he talks about his origin story, but then he talked about what's your lowest point. That's very different from your origin story. It's a different origin. It's a different point in your life. And most people talk about it as early on in life. My lowest point came later, much later in life. And what came to me, made me think about this, John, was the worst thing that ever happened to me was a lack of trust or betrayal by somebody you trusted. That put me into basic clinical depression. And I'm a tough guy. I'm a former pilot in the Israeli Air Force. I'm an accident investigator. I'm an entrepreneur. I did a lot of things. That broke me. And that was probably the saddest day of my life. And I couldn't get out of that cycle. I was crying. You'd think normally it wasn't that bad, but the lack of trust and betrayal was the worst thing that happened to me. And it's happened many times that people have been deceitful and not being who I thought they were, and they were somebody else in business and in life, in the military, wherever it was. That this last one was devastating because it brought me to my knees.
Do you mind if I ask, was that a love relationship? Was that a business relationship?
Business relationship. If you want me to tell it, I'll tell it to you, because it's a lesson learned. It was a guy that came from industry into healthcare. I work in the healthcare industry around patient safety and quality and improvement to try to save lives and reduce the costs and increase the quality of life. So he moved from industry, went to a course, and one of my mentors was a PhD, was his teacher, and he wanted to get some practical experience, and she sent him to me. And I opened my door to him, and I let him do all sorts of stuff, and he brought me some very good technology and ideas and process of how to, one thing that he taught me was implementation of your strategy, called strategy deployment. You have a strategy, but how you deploy that strategy, how do you do it and he had some nice softwares for large companies. It was very helpful to me to organize and think. Now, he wasn't a member of my company, and I paid him. And the long and short of the story was, there was one of my founding partners got sick. She died to reduce some of the funding. We had Hurricane Harvey, we had flooding. We just everything was bad. And then I had about 14 hospitals as customers. They all got acquired by CHI, Catholic Health Initiatives, and within a year, they basically canceled my contract because they wanted to standardize on what they were doing with all the acquisitions, and things weren't looking too good. He turns around and tries to take the company from me, and coordinates with the daughter of my sick friend, who has now power of attorney. And he told her he's going to give her all her money back and everything else, and for me to skip everything to him. And he was going to be the CEO of the company take over. Wasn't an employee. Now, it sounds like, yeah, deal with it. I had to go to lawyers, courtrooms. It cost me $30,000, which I didn't have. Credit cards, took out my 401k, everything to save the company. And the attorneys, I mean, it was devastating. It was, I don't know if you can understand something like that, but it was probably the lowest point of my life. And I thought the lowest point of my life was my mother died from a medical error. I thought that was the lowest point of my life, but in a different way, this was worse because I could accept that, but I couldn't accept this.
Yeah.
So, no, it is my fault. How could I trust somebody like this who wanted to steal everything from me? So that's we have different kind of origin story, but it's my lowest point. And I was older. I was 60 years old when that happened, and a lot of other things happened in my life. And John, you know some of them, but anyhow, that's
So Doug, how did you two things, and kind of like in succinctly, how did you get out of that ultimately? Like how did it resolve? And what was an important lesson that you learned? And kind of succinctly, because I know that we're coming up on time, but I still want to dig this out of you.
I think I'd like to quote Ronald Reagan here, and sort of the thing with trust but verify.
Yeah.
And that was, but you can't see what you can't see. And I'm writing a book called The Unseen Risks, Those That Will Hurt You. And this is one of them. It's how you have to be so careful in this world. And so that was the second question that you asked. And the first was, how did I get out of it? It was I had to go to legal to get a cease and desist to both that partner and him to get out of my life, and they had a legal document to do that. It cost me $30,000 and meetings and things like that. So and then I couldn't recover because I got different kind of contract with companies. I couldn't raise the money to help, and I was alone. And being alone, when you have a strong team behind you, it's very hard being alone. And you have to restructure, pivot, redesign things. So right now, John, I want to go to public speaking. I want to get on a TED Talk. I want to tell my story that other people can learn from what I do and won't repeat the mistakes that I made. And if they do, get out of them real quickly. And I'm writing this book called Unseen Risks. And, hopefully it will, and I know it's going to help other people. So that's what I'm doing.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, my quick take would be something like, uh, my partner is, or, my employee whom I took under my wing and, grew over years in my company, is now trying to steal my company from me. My partner, who has gotten sick and has given her power of attorney to her daughter, and her daughter doesn't have a relationship with the company, but my employee has gone to her and told her she'll get all her money back and he'll take care of her and all this stuff if she just hands the company over to him. And I am absolutely devastated. I thought the lowest point was when my mother died because of a medical error. It's what drove me to create this company, but this is an even lower point. I've trusted someone who has turned around and is trying to stab me in the back. And, I've been a pilot, I've been an investigator, I've been an entrepreneur, I've done a lot of things over my life. And I know that, you know, people often aren't who they say they are. But I thought that I had a feel for this guy and I really believed in him and I gave him all my best. And now he has stabbed me in the back. And so I spend $30,000 to keep the company out of his hands and try and do what I can to go forward. And, it ends up destroying the company and no one gets anything. And it makes me realize that in my third act as an entrepreneur and as someone who's been through all these things in my life, I want to convey the lessons that I've learned so that people people who are younger, who are coming up, can learn the things I know as an investigator, learn the things I learned in the military, and learn the lessons that I learned as an entrepreneur so that they can be more successful. So the book is called Unseen Risks, and those are some of the most devastating kind. But if you know how to plan and you know how to think about them, even unseen risks can be mitigated. My name's Douglas Dotan. I'm glad to be here with you today, and I'm going to share with you the Dotan method for, dealing with unseen risks.
Thank you, John. That was very articulate. You excel every time I listen to you. It's amazing.
Thank you.
You're remarkable.
And to do that under pressure, I feel a little bit guilty for throwing that at you in the last 8 minutes of our program here.
Well, no, and Doug, like I swear, like work with Dr. Tara, like just do it, because I bet that there are unconscious things you could unlock that would just move mountains out of your way. And I would love to see that.
I've worked with a lot of people with grief, and it's amazing how much stuff, when you clear it out from the earlier days, it just makes the stuff that's on your plate right now doable.
Yeah, I really, I'm one of the kind of guys who you knock me down and kick me in the teeth, I'll get up every time. You never keep me down. What they say about a good person, you never keep them down.
Yeah.
And that's and I put these things behind me, but I think there's lessons learned as you go along in life, and I think comes a point in life where you want to share that for others, because it's a waste if you take it to the grave with you. It's a waste.
Yeah.
Fantastic motivation, and a lot of creatives that I work with just get a lot more clarity on their mission, or people that are changing careers and don't know exactly where their North Star is. So you have a really beautiful North Star that can help in your journey.
I appreciate that, Dr. Perry. I really do. Thank you. Thank you, John. It was I never thought of I never told this story to anybody. It was John's thing about talking about the lowest point, and I was thinking while you were talking, what's my lowest point? What's my lowest point? And I have lots of low points, but they weren't like this.
Yeah.
I mean, when you wake up in the morning, you're crying, you don't know why you're crying.
Yeah.
That's low.
That's
really low.
Yes.
And what a great contrast John did by going back and citing all the other things that you've survived in life and how devastating this particular thing. John, I know you've got a timeline, so just give the audience, because we're going to send out the recording, what are your contact points? How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah. So if people want to follow me, probably one of the best places is linkedin.com/in/John Bates. And you can just email me straight up, john@johnbates.com. And if you've got a company and you want to do work like that, executivespeakingsuccess.com. is a great website for that kind of a focus. And then johnbates.com is just more about me. And you should come to livelikealeader.show and do a search for Dr. Perry.
And if you want to reach me directly, it's consulttara.com. There's about 10 questions you can fill out to just get some clarity about what you'd like to resolve, or nashvillehealer.com. Both will get you to me. I have a YouTube channel with a playlist of all kinds of people who've worked with me, and that's at Dr. Tara Grace Perry, I believe, and Instagram as well, Dr. Tara Perry. John, thank you so much. I know you're running overtime here, and you're always very diligent about having your day booked out. So thank you for running over with us. And still,
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
bye, everybody. Thank you so
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Tara, for
Thank you, everyone.
putting this together. I really appreciate the chance, and it's great to work with you. I'm a fan.
Well, this was a very productive hour. We all learned a ton. Thank you so much for being here. This podcast is intended for the purpose of providing information and education. It does not provide advice and is not meant to be used for any self-diagnosis or the replacement of any kind of licensed professional. The creators and individuals appearing here do not endorse any specific tests, positions, medications, products, or procedures. The views and opinions are expressed in this podcast are of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.